Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well today. In this video, I'm going to discuss what I tend to do every time we have a significant retrace in the market, because unlike the average crypto investor out there, I don't get paralyzed every time we have a pullback. In fact, every time it happens, it lights a fire under me and I get more motivated and mobilized. There's a lot of other things you can do besides buying the dip. This way, when the bull market resumes, you'll be able to extract maximum profits. In a time like this, when your portfolio value has been cut in half or even more, it's nice to be surrounded by a community of like-minded individuals who can provide guidance and support. And if you're interested in following somebody with a bullish bias, on Twitter I'm constantly highlighting metrics and analytics that suggest this bull market isn't over just yet. Both the links to my Discord channel and my Twitter profile can be found in the description below. With the intro out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this video. Alright, to start this video off, when you're in a bull market and things are going well, because you're deep in the green, you're more likely to take on additional risk. What typically happens in that setting is that many market participants will sell their high conviction plays that tend to have less volatility than some of these other speculative alts. And then when you have this unexpected and sudden dip, all of a sudden the alts and the more speculative plays that you bought end up going down significantly, much more than, let's say, Bitcoin or Ethereum. So in a period like this, when we're having this chop consolidation and we're potentially going to go back up, it's a good time to update your portfolio, make sure you account for all the new crypto assets that you just bought, and then from there decide whether you want to shed some of those positions or if you want to add to those positions. For example, if you're uncertain if the market's going to go up or down, this would be a good time to add some hedges. Or let's say you're bullish and you think this market is going to continue to go up, think about how you're going to take advantage of that. For example, anytime we have these huge sell-offs and the market recovers, Bitcoin tends to be the early leader. Given the stage of the market that we're in right now, that may not play out, but historically speaking, Bitcoin is usually the first to recover. So if you're in the camp that thinks Bitcoin will recover before the other alts, one potential strategy could be selling some of your positions into Bitcoin, and then after getting a nice pump, reallocating back into your previous place. And before I move on to the next segment, I just want to add that retracements like this make it very hard for most people to realize 100 or 1000x gains. The price you pay for those types of gains is volatility, and most people just can't afford it. Moving along, the next thing you want to do is reevaluate the health factor of all the loans that you've taken out. It's very tempting to take on additional leverage. For example, when Bitcoin is going up, rather than selling Bitcoin, many traders tend to take loans out against their Bitcoin, and then they proceed to buy riskier assets like low cap alts. And instead of paying back their loan after those alts are profitable, they'll continue to take out more and more money, because as the price of Bitcoin goes up, they're able to take out additional funds to buy even more alts. And whether you're using Aave.com or you're using Nexo, when the market retraces like this, it's a good time to look at the health factor of your loans and decide if it's worth paying back. This way you could avoid liquidation in case the prices go lower. And to do this, you might be required to sell off some of your alts. And I think in part that had a lot to do with why a lot of these alts had major pullbacks. Because many people were buying alts with leverage, to make sure that they didn't suffer a liquidation, they had to sell a portion of their alts to pay back some of the loan. And who knows, it may be worthwhile not to pay it back, because liquidations aren't the end of the world. I mean, you might end up paying additional fees, because basically what they're doing is they're selling a portion of your collateral, and in return, you get to keep the asset that you bought. So if you're more bullish on the asset that you bought than your collateral, in that case, a liquidation event isn't going to be a big deal for you. And on a side note, I've done a video in the past about how to switch your collateral type on Nexo, because on Nexo, unlike other CeFi platforms, you're able to exchange your assets. Whether you're new to Nexo or you've used Nexo before, it might be worthwhile for you to watch that video if you're the type that likes to take out collateralized loans. Just click the upper right hand corner of the screen to watch the video. Another thing you want to start thinking about is planting some seeds. I remember after the first DeFi winter that we had, unlike most of the market participants, I was actively farming, I was digging through Discords, I was keeping up to date with a few projects, and that ultimately led to me buying some really good winners like Rune and Sushi. Because oftentimes when we have these large pullbacks, most market participants become amotivated, so they're not out there actively looking for opportunities. Most of them won't become active until their portfolios are green again. And I think we can take advantage of this by becoming a lot more active. For example, the Cosmo Gravity Dex is going to be huge in my opinion when it launches, and I have a feeling that's going to be the next big DeFi frontier. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm looking through a few of the Discord channels. I'm doing more research about projects that are going to be part of the IBC, because I want to know about projects that are most likely to benefit from the Gravity Dex going live. In fact, the other day I sold one of my alts that had gone up like over 50x. I decided to sell a portion of it to buy a token of a project that's likely to facilitate cross-chain transfers onto Cosmos. Another area of interest for me is the Thorchain protocol. I'm keeping a close eye on projects that collaborate with Thorchain, and I'm also watching to see what kind of services they add on top of the Thorchain protocol. For example, if they add synthetics and you're able to take out a loan against your collateralized position on the Thorchain protocol, this is incredibly risky, but I was thinking about taking a loan out against some of my LP'd assets to buy tokens from projects that are going to be closely collaborating with the Thorchain protocol. Another area of interest for me is the Polkadot blockchain. After its first mania during the summer of 2020, a lot of the interest has died off, but the developer activity and interest hasn't decreased at all. These guys are hard at work building protocols that I think are going to be in high demand once Polkadot goes live with all its parachains. A couple of the projects that I'm super interested in include Akala and Hydra DX. I've done full video reviews on both those projects, so if you want to learn more, make sure to click the upper right hand corner of the screen to access my Polkadot playlist. Moving on to the next segment, initial DEX offerings can be very lucrative. They tend to be the most lucrative when the market is running hot, but you could be pleasantly surprised even when we have a huge correction. Some of these IDOs in the past, even after a correction, have given 5x to 10x return. So by fishing around for good quality IDOs, who knows, you could potentially get a 2 to 3x while everybody is just sitting with their hands folded in their laps watching the market go sideways. With that being said, these IDOs in this stage of the market are going to be super risky for a lot of people, and unless you know what you're doing, you could end up getting burned pretty badly. So only engage in these IDOs at this stage of the market if you've done your due diligence and you know how they work. Now, provided that many of you guys out there that are following my work are probably out there yield farming, I would highly recommend that you guys start an Excel sheet to keep track of all the farms and all the assets you have on the farm. Some useful DeFi applications that might help you track all your assets across these DeFi protocols include Zerion.io and Zapper.fi. They're not going to be comprehensive, so I would still recommend getting an Excel sheet started. This way you don't forget about any farms that you're in, because there's so many farms out there and so many opportunities. It's very easy to get overextended in this market. And because a lot of these yields rely on the price of certain tokens, if the market has a huge pullback, it's definitely going to impact the yields. And if you're an experienced DeFi farmer, you know that a lot of these yields out there tend to get diluted, they tend to be transient. So after a pullback like this, it's a good time to evaluate all your assets on all these various farms, because if there's a farm out there or a protocol out there that's offering a very robust yield despite the sell-off, it might be a good idea to allocate more funds into that protocol. And who knows, maybe during the bull market you took on additional risk, and seeing this pullback you wish you did things a little bit more differently. For example, maybe you wish that instead of earning more of these inflationary tokens that of course could appreciate over time, you now wish that you sold some of these tokens as they appreciated into stablecoins. So with this new mindset, you can go ahead and revise your strategy or come up with a new strategy that helps preserve all the yield farming gains that you made. For instance, if you're a cake farmer and you were taking your cake and you were putting it into one of these other pools that have volatile assets, maybe you want to put some of your cake into this pool instead. This way you can lock in some gains in UST as you accumulate interest. Now in this last segment, I'm going to talk about what most people end up doing, and that's buying the dip. Of course, this only makes sense if you think the market is going to continue to rally. And one thing I wanted to say is that, greed works both ways. When the market is going up, it causes people to buy the top. And when the market is going down, it causes people to miss buying the bottom. My view is that if you think the market is going to continue rallying, and the fundamental for your token or the investment that you had made hasn't changed at all, instead of following all these TA guys and trying to time the exact bottom, I like to scale into my positions. In 2019, I was a huge advocate for dollar cost averaging. So if you were following me back in 2019, it's very likely that you were dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin below 6,000, Ethereum below 200, Link below $2. During that phase of the cycle, we were in accumulation, so for me it made sense to buy on a weekly basis. In this stage of the cycle, I'd probably buy every couple days or maybe even every day. But in my experience, instead of following 10 different people, it's better to figure out what works best for you and stick to the game plan. It all boils down to having a vision and committing to it. Now, if you've been watching the video until now, it's very likely that you're enjoying the content, you like what I have to say, and if you wanted to follow along with all the moves that I make in real time, I do offer additional services through Patreon, and even if you join the lowest tier I have for $20 a month, not only will you get access to my newsletter, but you'll also get access to my 5 private Discord channels. Just about every move I make, this includes new tokens I'm buying, gets published there in real time. And if you're interested in having a one-on-one dialogue with me, I even have higher tiers for that. By talking to me, you'll learn about my portfolio allocation, what kind of protocols I'm yield farming on, what my tentative plans are to cash out of the market, and much, much more. If you feel like any of the services would benefit you, make sure you guys check out the Patreon link in the description below. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is CryptoOneStop signing out. I'll talk to you folks next time. Bye.